Hey guys, so today I'm finally getting around to talking about the birth story of our little girl who is sleeping next to me right now. She doesn't normally sleep this much, but she's been sleeping all day, so I finally managed to get some work done. We are 7 weeks in at the moment, and it's just flown by. I can't believe it's been 7 weeks already. So I'm just going to start from the top. This will probably be quite a long video, talking about all the different things that happened during the birth. So if you want to get a cup of tea and sit down with me, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so we were 11 days overdue, which was horrific. Like, it was just so uncomfortable, so heavy. It just wasn't a nice experience at all, the overdue bit. Everyone's asking you like, is the baby here yet? And I was just like, no, still no, still no. It drove me absolutely mad. But yeah, so 11 days overdue. On when we were 8 days overdue, I went in for a sweep. Sorry, 7 days overdue, we went in for a sweep, and then 9 days overdue, we went in for a sweep, because the one 7 days in didn't work, obviously, and they give you like 2 days between each one. So I went in for another one on 9 days. I wasn't sure if I wanted a sweep, but I read a lot about it, and I mean, it's kind of invasive, but it's not like, it didn't feel like a very unnatural thing. Like, I could technically have done it to myself, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not something that is like crazy invasive. It's just somebody putting their gloved hand in your vagina, kind of detaching the membranes or whatever, and just helping to shift things along. So I had that because I was getting really desperate, and I really didn't want to be induced, which they would have put like a pessary with hormones and stuff, and then just made me wait to go into labour, and yeah, I didn't really want that. So yeah, we had 2 sweeps, and then the second one, I don't actually know if it worked or not, but day 9, no wait, I'm so confused. Yeah, day 9, and then day 10 overdue, I went to the gym. I tried all these different things to get labour started, nothing worked at all. So yeah, day 10 I went to the gym, did a good, I think, hour and a half, 2 hour workout, and she came the following day. So I went to bed on the 11th of March, feeling nothing at all. I've been crying every day since like 6 days overdue, because I was just distraught that there was no baby here, especially because the 11th of March was Mother's Day, and everyone that I knew was like, oh, my new baby, or all the guys I knew were like, oh, my wife has made the most amazing mum this past like 2 weeks since we've had our child or whatever, and I was like, I just want to be a mum now. Oh, it was horrible. Yeah, on the 12th I woke up in the morning. It was about 6:45, and I wasn't sure if my waters had gone or not. There was like a little bit of liquid, and I didn't know. So within about 5 minutes, I think, I had a contraction, and I had another and another, and these were 6 minutes apart already. And Pepe had like an app for contractions, because I didn't want to know at all how far it's really stupid, but I didn't want to know how far apart they were. I wasn't interested in numbers, I just wanted to feel it and go with it, and just not obsessed with how far apart they were or whatever. So luckily he was there, and I would just be like, another one, and he'd press the button, and I'd be like, another one, he'd press the button again. And I just said, just tell me when we need to go into hospital, I don't want to know anything else. So they were getting stronger and stronger. I remember at one point I went to the loo, and I just came out of the loo, and it's about this far to like the stairwell, and I got to the stairwell, I like clutched onto the stairwell and just like fell to the floor, because it was just such a strong sensation. And then I only made it from the stairwell to the door here, which is again about like 5 feet or less, before another one came, and I was like, okay, I think it's really coming now. That period where it went from 6 minutes apart to 2 to 3 minutes apart, which is when you go into the hospital, felt like about 20 minutes to me, but it was actually about 3 hours. So we got to the hospital, which is about 10-15 minute drive away with traffic from our house. We got an Uber, because you can't get a taxi, sorry, you can't get parking at the hospital, which is awful. So we got an Uber, and this poor Uber driver got in, and I was like, just so you know, I might be making some sound. Got in the Uber, and I was like going over the bumps, and I was like, aah! As we went over the bumps and stuff. I felt so sorry for him, but he was really nice. So yeah, we got to the hospital at 10:30. Just need to adjust myself, sorry, I'm like on this bed. I tried to find a good angle for the camera, but there's not really anywhere I can go that is a good setup. So yeah, 10:30 got to the hospital. I can't remember how far dilated I was, to be honest. I don't remember. We went straight to the birth centre. So this is at the Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel, and they've got this new birthing centre. It's been there for I think like a year and a half. It was incredible. It's just this huge room. I've actually got photos. I'll link in the caption. I'm going to talk about that separately on my blog, but we had a birth photographer there, and I'll link to the the video of all the birthing photos. It was really cool. So yeah, this birth centre room was absolutely massive. It was bigger than the entire floor of our whole house. Just one room just for us, and it wasn't private or anything like that. It was NHS. And they had a couple of beds, they had a pool, it had this amazing view. It's on the 8th floor, so it has this amazing view over East London. We could kind of see where our house was and stuff. It's really amazing. So in there we had a really great team of midwives. So I got in, and my plan was to use the birthing pool, even though, because I have strep B, I needed intravenous antibiotics. So I'm allergic to penicillin, so I had to have what was it called? Vancomycin, which is just an antibiotic. It's a really thick needle when it went into my arm, and I just had a cannula or whatever it's called for like a few minutes. I thought that having antibiotics, I was really worried about it. I thought it would make it super interrupted. Like I really thought that I wouldn't be able to move around the room, but it really just took a few minutes to go in, and that was it. And then I was going to use a birthing pool, but the midwives were kind of like, oh, we're not sure if you can use it with the antibiotics. Let me turn my phone off before that happens again. Yeah, but I'd actually read up on it, and the Royal what is it, Society whatever of Gynecology and Obstetrics, on there it says that it's safe to use. You just need to keep your cannula dry. But actually by the time I'd like got my little hospital robe on and stuff, everything was just so intense that they actually filled up the birthing pool for me, and until after I'd given birth it didn't even cross my mind that I would go in it. Like I used the side of it to bear down on and everything, but I just forgot that it was there, and I didn't go in it at all, which wasn't the plan. I was gonna go in it, but I just completely just passed me by. Everything went by so quickly. So yeah, my plan was I didn't want any painkillers unless I really had to have them. However, I was always open to it because I just thought that the worst thing that I could do was put pressure on myself and like try to force myself to not have pain relief if I needed it, because then that just makes you feel awful about yourself if you plan exactly what's going to happen and then it all goes wrong or whatever. So I didn't know much about hypnobirthing. I watched some of the things online. I didn't get on with it very well. I found that it focused too much on like, oh, you will be in this cycle of pain and suffering and whatever, and discomfort, but this is how you get out of it. I didn't even want to think about the discomfort. I ended up just before the last few days of being pregnant, I ended up watching just loads of mammal birthing videos because they just really calmed me down. I know it's weird. I was watching compilations, sat there eating my breakfast, watching compilations of donkeys giving birth, elephants giving birth, giraffes giving birth, and I loved it because they were just so chill. They're just like and then the baby kind of comes out and gunge on the floor and they kick it around a bit and then it starts moving. I really like watching them instead. So yeah, didn't know much about the hypnobirthing, but what I did watch was very similar to the meditative breath techniques that I was already using, the stuff that as a meditation teacher I've been teaching for the past few years anyway. So that really helped, just knowing that I could go into that zone of just letting go of pain and trying to come to a neutral point, which is something that I try and practice every day anyway. So that was really handy. I also wrote a kind of meditative prayer for myself, that I repeated little lines of it. I repeated this whole prayer every morning for about 3 weeks before birth, 4 weeks before birth, and little lines of that kept popping through my head. I'll link to that as well in the caption of this video in case you want to look at that. But yeah, that really helped as well. And I think just channeling the pain was something that's supposed to be there. I felt like it was a really different pain from from like stubbing your toe or breaking a bone or something like that, because it's not something that's not supposed to be there. It's not that you've done something wrong, it's something that is supposed to be there. You okay? Okay, where was I? Yeah, so in terms of pain relief, I ended up not using anything at all. So when I first got into the room, the midwife offered me to try to use the gas nerd just to see what it would feel like in case I needed it later, and I just said I don't want to try it, because if I try it I'll know that it's good and then I want it later. So I just didn't try it at all. And throughout, I think when I started making a lot of noise, like I was very vocal. I didn't plan to be at all, but I was like, I wasn't screaming high pitched, but I was like, "Arr!" Like so much so that my my throat hurt for I think 4 or 5 days after I gave birth. So yeah, when I started making more noise, I think they offered me more pain relief and stuff, and I was like, no, it's fine. I started off on all fours. I really did not want to be on my back at all. I've read like bad things about being on your back, so I was on all fours for ages, what felt to me like not much time at all, and eventually they were like, oh, we want to put you in a different position just to help things move along faster. And I was like, what? I've only been in this position for about 5 minutes. I think it's probably been like 5 hours, I'm not sure. So they gave me this birthing stool, which is kind of like this big like adult potty with like a bit underneath it, like a plastic thing, I think to catch with liquid or blood or whatever. So I got on that, and in between, oh, also before this actually, when I was on all fours, they kept turning me over to get the baby's heartbeat. So every now and then I had to turn onto my back, which I really didn't like. The contractions while I was on my back were so much worse than when I was on my front. So yeah, they kept flipping me over. At one point they had to actually drain my bladder. Well, they didn't have to, but they were like, this is easier than you going to the toilet. At this point I was in so much that they were just coming so quickly and so constantly, that I was like, yeah, sure, I don't know what you mean, as long as it's not like something that's like super like invasive. I don't know really. Yeah. So they just put like a cannula up my urethra and then like drain my bladder, which is the weirdest thing because I've been drinking so much. I was drinking water and coconut water all the way throughout the labour. I've been drinking so much that my bladder was so full that apparently it would like slow things down. So I had the option of going waddling over the toilet, or they could just drain it for me, and they said it was easiest to just drain it for me. So I was like, cool. So yeah, it was a weird sensation because you feel the relief of going to the toilet without actually going to pee. It was really strange. And they like filled up this bowl, a couple of bowls of water, and got rid of it for me, which was really strange. And then what happened next? Oh yeah, so this birthing stool, they showed me this cool like position where you put your hands underneath your thighs and you put your feet flat on the floor, and then you tuck your chin in, and then you just try to make all the energy go downwards. And the midwife was just like, she had her hand on my shoulder and she was like, imagine you're doing the biggest poo of your life, the biggest poo. So I was like, she was like, imagine you're really constipated, which was really funny. So I was bearing down and really pushing hard. And then baby's head started crowning when I was on the stool. So they were like, oh, you can't actually like give birth right here because she's gonna drop on the floor. So then I had to waddle over back to the to the big bed, and then I was back on all fours and I was just pushing really hard. I think at this point it turned, I couldn't describe any of it as pain in the sense of like breaking your leg, as I said, but at this point it turned into something just like I was in another world. I didn't feel like I was in the room at all. And yeah, I just was just drinking a bit of water and then just pushing really hard. So eventually, oh, and then my butt felt like it was going to explode. Like it just felt like she was going to pop out of my butt. And I kept, this is so gross, I kept saying to Pepe, I was like, have I pooed, have I pooed, have I pooed? And I pooed a tiny bit, like a little pellet. So disgusting to share on the internet. But yeah, but he was like, no, you still haven't pooed, it's fine, just a tiny bit, you're alright. And I was like, are you sure it feels like I've pooed? Because it really did feel like I pooped. Anyway, then one big push, her head came out, and like it was a real relief, because it went like, obviously the little bit comes out, and then the widest part of the head, and then goes with the neck when the head is out. And then she started crying before her shoulders even came out. So as I was pushing her head out, Pep was like, oh, I can see she's got lots of hair, which I was so excited about, and I was just like, argh. Then she came out, and then yeah, once her head was out, she started crying, and I could hear her crying, and I was like, oh my god, the baby is alive and crying, but she's not actually like fully born yet. That is mad. And then after that head push, I was like, oh my god, now I have to push out the shoulders. It's gonna be even wider than the head. But I was really excited because I could already hear that she was alive and like presumably well. So I just pushed really hard, tore myself, and she came out, which was great. But I had a second degree tear, which is skin and muscle. But honestly, like, I'm now, for the next, like, if I have another baby, I think I'll feel even more relaxed about it, because now I know that that tear, even without any pain relief, any gas and air or anything, could not feel whatsoever. Like, just because everything was so intense, I couldn't feel anything at all when I actually tore. I didn't know that I'd torn at all. So yeah, then she was out, fantastic. And then yeah, then I had to deliver the placenta. So I just thought, you okay, honey? I just thought that the placenta would be super easy, and that your body would just go, right, a few contractions and it comes out, which apparently for a lot of people is what happens. For me, it took me a full hour to deliver the placenta. She was a big baby, she was £8.13, which is exactly 4 kilos. And the placenta was really big apparently, so it took me so long to get it out. They were like, yeah, if it's after an hour, we have to inject you so that your uterus contracts to push it out, otherwise it becomes dangerous or whatever. We did actually also we had the delayed cord clamping, so we let the placenta stop, the cord stop pulsing before we cut it off of her. So yeah, they said an hour, and after an hour you have to have an injection, which I really didn't want. So it's getting closer and closer to the hour. And then 64 minutes had passed, and I was still trying to push. My energy was so spent, I just wasn't expecting it to be difficult to push it out. And I was like, man, this is getting really hard, I'm so exhausted. And like, even though I wasn't feeling contractions really with it, I was trying to push anyway because I just really wanted it out. 64 minutes had passed, and they were like, oh, you've done so well doing everything so naturally, but we're gonna have to get the injection. And I was like, oh, I don't want it. So the midwife went out the room to get it. And I was like, no, F this, I have to do this. And I was just like, oh, and I tried to push so hard, used all the energy I had left. And then the placenta popped out, and she came back in the room, and I was like, ha, I've done it, it's out. So I was really happy. They did all the normal stuff, weighed her, blah, blah, blah. And then took me onto this throne. It was like a birthing throne, just this huge chair with like legs, like pedals for your feet, where you just kind of go spread eagle. And then it was time to stitch me up. So this lovely head midwife, she was such a dream, she was so lovely. She was like, I'm gonna do some cosmetic surgery on you, I'll try and make it look as good as I can. And she stitched me up, and she was like, oh, did you want to just not use any pain relief for this as well, since you did the birth without pain relief? And I was like, are you kidding? Do I want to feel myself do I want to feel myself be stitched up with a needle going through my vagina? Absolutely not. Like, birth is a lovely natural thing that I want to feel, but I absolutely don't want to feel myself get literally stitched up from like almost my butthole to my vagina with absolutely nothing. So I was like, no, inject whatever it is. So they gave me like the local anesthetic, so it numbed my vagina, thank goodness. I could still feel the sensations of it, like the sensations, but not the pain. So they did that, and then we went into the postnatal room, and yeah, we just had really good care. We stayed there just for one night because I had strep B. If you want to know more about strep B, just Google it. It's basically a bacteria that does absolutely nothing in your life. Like, you just have it for no reason, and you can carry it, and your status can change at different times. It can come and go, and a lot of women have it. But just during labour, if you happen to pass it on to the baby, they can have problems like meningitis, pneumonia and stuff if you pass it on to them. So they normally just give you antibiotics because it makes it a lot less likely. But you can read more about that if you're interested. So yeah, because I had strep B, they just needed to monitor us for 24 hours after I gave birth, to make sure that she hadn't got it. So we stayed in overnight. She was born, sorry, I didn't even mention that bit. So the whole labour took about 9 hours from the 6-minute contractions to her being born, and then another hour for the placenta. So she was born at 4:41 p.m. Like I said, labour started like at around 7 a.m. And then the placenta came out at 5:45 or whatever it was. Yeah, so then yeah, we stayed in overnight. We had really good care. As soon as she was born, when the placenta was still inside, she latched on and started feeding, which was great. And then yeah, we stayed in overnight and stocked up on lots of medjool dates and soy milk and coconut water and all the things that I wanted to have. And then we left that evening, and Pepe managed to stay in the room with me as well, which was amazing. In the postnatal room they had like a chair that folded out, so he was able to stay on that night. I think I slept for about 20 minutes because I was just like, the hormones were just so much, and I just kept looking at her like, is she still breathing, is she still alive? She was absolutely fine. So we had her little tests and things next day to make sure she was all good, and then we went home and that was it. I feel like, I don't know if I missed anything big there, but I've been talking for 22 minutes, so I think that's probably, I've probably covered everything. But yeah, it was just such an amazing experience. Like, I just never thought that it would be not pain that I would feel. I was telling myself that, but I didn't think that the breathing and stuff would actually work so well. Like, I don't know, I just kept imagining like my grandmother in Malaysia, how she had like 7 kids or whatever, all with no medical real care, in like, yeah, in Malaysia in the 1940s, 50s, 60s or whatever. And I was like, yep, just channel that, you've got it, it's absolutely fine. People all over the world do this. But also being open, I think, to the pain relief was really important, because I think if I'd have gone in thinking, no, you can't have pain relief, like this is the way you want to do it, I think I would have struggled a lot more and been a lot more unhappy with the whole situation. So you're still sleeping. Oh, this is wonderful. So that's it. Let me take this off of my bed. Oh, baby is just down here. She's on her front, yes, but she's right next to me and she can breathe, and she's just so comfortable being on her front that I let her nap like this if I'm literally sitting right next to her and I can see that she's still breathing. I wouldn't leave her like that overnight or anything. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on pain relief, on hypnobirthing, on all of that stuff. If you have a kind of birth story to share, or if you've done a video on it or a blog post or anything, I'd love to read about it or watch it. So yeah, please share that with me. Okay, 24 minutes. Right, I should wrap this up. I will see you soon. Bye!